My sister had sex with 100 different guys. I'm so ashamed to tell this. I don't know where to begin. Perhaps the worst part of this story is that I kept silent for so long, trying to hide it and pretend everything was fine. But I can't anymore. I'm just broken. My younger sister, Emily, has slept with 100 different guys over the past year. 100. Is that normal for a 19-year-old girl? I don't even know how to say it. But someone needs to hear this. My name is Sarah. I'm 25, and I grew up in a small town in Iowa. Our family was always quite traditional, if not strict. My parents are religious people with conservative views. Every Sunday, we went to church. Morality was the main value, and my sister and I grew up believing that relationships should be serious, almost sacred. I was always the responsible child, but Emily, she was always more challenging. She grew up differently, more rebellious. But what's happening now is beyond comprehension. A year ago, everything seemed normal. Emily started going to college parties, meeting new people. That's normal, I thought. She had the right to her freedom. But one day, I accidentally saw a message on her phone. One of those guys wrote something like, "You said it was only 7 last week." 7 in 1 week? At first, I thought it was some kind of joke. But no, it was the truth. I didn't sleep for several nights after that. I kept thinking about what to do. Confess to my parents? No, that would destroy them. Talk to Emily? I was afraid she would just push me away. In the end, I decided to stay silent, hoping it was just a phase that would pass. But days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Emily didn't stop. On the contrary, she dove even deeper into this lifestyle. My internal struggle was eating me alive. I felt ashamed of what was happening to her, even though it wasn't my fault. How could I keep this secret, knowing my sister was ruining her life? At the same time, I was terrified that if I said anything, I would not only destroy her but our entire family. I tried convincing myself that it wasn't my business, but every time I saw Emily, I trembled with anger and shame. I tried to find some justification for her behavior, but I couldn't. And the more I kept silent, the more guilty I felt for doing so. There were moments when I felt like I was at my breaking point. None of my friends knew about this, and I had no one to talk to. Tom, my boyfriend, didn't understand why I had become so withdrawn. He kept asking, "What's wrong?" But I couldn't answer him. How could I tell him my sister was sleeping with dozens of guys? I was afraid of his reaction, afraid he would judge me. Eventually, it became the reason for our breakup. Now, I feel like I'm carrying this huge burden on my shoulders. I know this story isn't over yet, but even now, I see how it's breaking me inside. And the scariest part is that I don't know what to do next. Reddit user comments, "Lost and found 1995. Oh, I feel you. It's such a tough situation when you're the older sibling and don't know how to help. I also have a younger brother who didn't listen, and because of him, our family almost fell apart too. Just know it's not your fault. Broken_wings88. I had a friend who lost all her friends and family because of similar behavior. I hope your sister realizes it before it's too late. Stay strong." No more secrets. 33. Sarah, you're not alone. I also live with constant shame because of a family member. It hurts, but talking about it is already a big step. Maybe you should seek professional help for both yourself and Emily. Unspoken words. 94. This story is horrible, yet very real. I understand your shame because I've been in a similar situation with my brother. Talk to someone you trust. Don't keep it all inside. About 6 months after I found out about Emily's behavior, things only got worse. It was in May. She had just come home after her first semester at university. I was sure the parties and boys would be left in the past once she saw real life, but I was wrong. The parties didn't stop. They just moved to our small town. Every Friday and Saturday, Emily would go to another party. I couldn't understand how this was even possible, given that our town only had 2,000 people, most of whom were either relatives or acquaintances. I constantly wondered, wouldn't any of the neighbors notice what was going on? But everything seemed to go unnoticed. One evening, when Emily came home drunk again with yet another guy, I couldn't take it anymore. It was a Thursday, mid-June. I remember that day very well because it was a turning point for me. That evening, she brought a guy home, and I sat in the kitchen just watching as they walked by. He was from another town. He said he came here for some festival, though I knew it was just another lie. I saw Emily laughing, whispering something in his ear, and something inside me snapped. I got up and went to her room, where she had already closed the door. I knocked, but she didn't answer. I knocked harder, then again, and finally, the door opened. "What do you want, Sarah?" Her tone was calm, as if I had just ruined her evening. "How much longer is this going to go on?" That was all I could manage to say, though inside I was boiling with anger. "What do you mean?" She rolled her eyes as usual. I couldn't believe it. A hundred guys, Emily! Do you understand this isn't normal?" My words came out stronger than I expected. She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something like doubt or maybe shame in her eyes, but it lasted only a moment. She quickly put her indifferent mask back on. "Why are you so worried? It's my life, Sarah, not yours, and it's not your problem." I didn't know how to respond. It made me feel worse that not only did she not see a problem with what she was doing, but she didn't understand how it was affecting me, and not just me. I thought about our parents. If they knew about all this, I couldn't even imagine their reaction. Mom and Dad already had problems. They were worried about financial difficulties. Dad lost his job in February, and it hit the family hard. I knew Emily was further destroying their world, but she continued living as if nothing was happening. I saw her social media pages. It was even worse there. She posted pictures with different guys, tagged herself at clubs where I didn't even know she went. One of her posts got hundreds of likes, and my chest tightened seeing how people supported her. They told her how free and brave she was. And there I was, sitting at home, feeling like I was drowning in shame for both of us. When I tried to talk to her later, she cut me off. "I'm not going to stop. It's my body, and I'll do what I want." That was the moment I realized I couldn't stay silent any longer. Something had to change. Either I would tell our parents and put an end to this, or I'd continue carrying this burden. But I knew that once I did, our family would never be the same again. Reddit. User comments. Silent cry. 78. This is a real nightmare. I can't imagine how hard this must be for you. I wish you strength and patience. Sometimes, the people we love force us to make the hardest decisions. Tough Choices 90. This situation scares me a bit because I see my sister in it. She started partying and dating guys the same way when she left home, but I never thought it could go this far. You're not alone. I hope you find the right path. Distant Hope. 43. The fact that you decided to talk to her is already a big step, but honestly, you need to be ready for the fact that she won't change until she wants to. It's hard to accept, but that's how it is. Heartbroken. Again. The situation is just crazy, but your actions are totally justified. I don't know what I would do in your place, but it's clearly not easy. Maybe it would be worth reaching out to someone for help, like a therapist or counselor. I can't believe all of this happened just a few days ago, on Tuesday, August 20th. Up until the moment I'm about to tell you about, I had been thinking for weeks about how to tell our parents everything. Constant struggle in my head. Should I? What would happen next? But nothing I imagined could have prepared me for reality. It all started with a phone call. It was 5 p.m. I was just finishing up my workday and planning a quiet evening at home. The phone rang, and when I saw my mom's number on the screen, I felt a chill inside. She almost never called at this time. She knew I was at work. "Sarah, where are you?" Her voice was trembling. I immediately knew something was wrong. "I'm just finishing work. What happened?" "You need to come to the hospital immediately. Emily." I didn't need any more words. It felt like time stopped. I quickly ran out of the office and drove to the hospital, which was only 10 minutes from my workplace, but the drive felt like an eternity. When I arrived, Mom and Dad had already been let into the ICU. I waited by the entrance. After what felt like an hour, though it was only half an hour, I finally got to see Emily. She was lying in bed, hooked up to machines. It turned out she had been at another one of those parties with some guys, and someone brought drugs. They decided to party harder than usual. Emily lost consciousness, and no one noticed right away. They found her after the overdose. The doctors said her heart almost stopped. They managed to save her life, but the consequences were severe. She would have a long recovery ahead, and there was a chance it could affect her health permanently. I sat next to her bed, looking at my sister. I couldn't recognize her in this body that now seemed so weak and vulnerable. All these months, I had hated her for tearing our lives apart, but now, I couldn't think of anything but how much I wanted her to be alive and healthy. When Emily finally regained consciousness, she couldn't speak. She just looked at me with tear-filled eyes. That was the moment I realized this could have been the end. If someone hadn't arrived in time, we might never have seen her alive again. I don't know how much longer we'll be fighting this battle. But one thing I know for sure, the story isn't about how many guys she had been with. It's a story about losing control, about how we all could have lost each other because of silence. My sister was lost, but not because she wanted to live like this. She was looking for an escape from something I couldn't see before. Now we have a second chance, and I'll try not to lose it. Reddit user comments. "Life happens, fast. This is so scary, knowing it could have ended even worse. It's good that you were there and could help. I hope your sister gets the help she needs." Invisible Pain 123. I'm reading your story with trembling hands. I also lost someone close to drugs and know how unexpected it can be. I'm glad she survived. Forgiven Sins 89. It's important that you see something deeper behind her actions than just behavior. In my case, we couldn't save my brother because we didn't notice he was looking for help. Stay strong. I'm sure you'll get through this. Second chance now. Life throws us these challenges sometimes. The most important thing is that she's alive. I hope this will be the beginning of her recovery and that you both can get through it together. It has been almost 2 months since the day I sat by Emily's hospital bed. That was the scariest day of my life. August 20th, the day I thought I would never see my sister again. A lot has changed since then, though the road to recovery turned out to be even harder than I had imagined. After being discharged from the hospital, Emily spent 2 weeks at a rehab center near our town in Des Moines. It was the first step toward her recovery. She reluctantly agreed to go, but the doctors convinced her that without professional help, she might lose her chance at a normal life. Those 2 weeks were the hardest for our family. My parents still couldn't fully accept what had happened, even though they knew rehab was a necessary step. My mom cried almost every day, and my dad withdrew into himself, trying to escape the pain. When Emily returned home, we started a new life. I immediately noticed changes in her behavior. She became quieter, stopped going to parties, and tried to avoid the company that had led her to her past mistakes. For the first time in a long while, we started talking. Not just chatting, but really talking about what was bothering her. One evening, as we sat on the porch of our house, she opened up to me about how it all started with a feeling of loneliness. "I felt like I had no control over my life," she admitted. "I thought that if I could control my relationships with guys, I would feel important. But it only made everything worse." Those words broke my heart. I had always thought I knew my sister, but it turned out that all these months, I hadn't seen how she was fighting her inner demons. All her relationships, all those guys, it was just an attempt to fill the void. She was searching for recognition, love, but found only more pain. Now, on October 5th, our family is finally starting to move forward. We decided to start seeing a family therapist in our town to rebuild our relationships and understand how to prevent this from happening again. My parents and I are doing our best to support Emily in her struggle. She hasn't returned to university yet. She decided to take a year off to focus on her health. Was it hard? Incredibly. Every day, I experience moments of doubt and anxiety, but the most important thing I've learned from this story is that silence and hiding problems only make things worse. If I had dared to talk to Emily earlier, maybe we could have avoided many painful moments. But I don't blame myself for it, and none of us should. We all make mistakes. There's still a long road ahead, but I'm no longer afraid. Now I know we can get through this together. My greatest wish is for my sister to find herself and never again feel the loneliness that led her down such a dark path. Reddit. User comments. Healing takes time. 95. You and your family have really been through a lot, but I'm glad you found a way out. Rehab is a huge step forward, and I'm sure things will get even better with time. Stay strong. Lost, but found 13. It's so important to talk about problems instead of hiding them. I was in a similar situation with my brother, and the silence only made everything harder. Your words have inspired me. Thank you for sharing this story. One step at a time. 07. What impressed me most about this story is how you support your sister despite everything. Family really is the foundation, and when you see someone going through such struggles,